Awakening and Grand Rising. I'm sitting out here relaxing, enjoying some sun in the backyard, and we had a beautiful ritual last night. I'm gonna share some of that tomorrow after I take my time and edit it because it was beautiful. But I'm just really happy for the space that I'm in, although I'm navigating a lot of grief. I'm getting a lot of downloads about loving myself. And one of the things that has come up for me is why black love is important. I'm not against interracial dating because I think that interracial dating has the potential to bring us back to source, to bring us back to the deep. I think about when RuPaul said, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? And when I think about that, I think about how important it is for me to be able to look in that mirror first and love me. And how those who have a genetic makeup similar to my own mirror me more closely than someone who may mirror me in spirit and energy, but not necessarily in aesthetic and having a similar narrative historically. So I do feel like it's very important when we see examples of black people loving each other and modeling that love. Not in a gatekeeping way, not in a I'm taking your black card from you, you don't get to come to the barbecue way. Blackness knows no bounds. Blackness can show up in all type of forms. And that's the thing that I'm beginning to understand. Um, I definitely think that black people who were born and raised in America and are descendants of beings who were born and raised in America have a history, a heritage, and a narrative that is specific to them. And it provides context for some of the things that we celebrate, the ways that we show up, and how we navigate society. And I want to hold space for that. But blackness is infinite and it has the capacity to hold all things. And I definitely think that when we are loving on each other as deeply melanated beings, lightly melanated beings, melanin rich beings, however you want to state it, when we're loving on each other in that way, we need to love each other with the understanding that we don't all show up the same way. And we don't need to invalidate each other's experiences or invalidate how another person shows up simply because they didn't get to that point the way that you did. As a black, indigenous, queer person who is post-op, I was assigned or called male when I entered this realm, when I came in through this portal. for this incarnation. And I laid on a table and I sacrificed to feel comfortable in my body. I sacrificed vitality, because testosterone, is a good source of vitality, and I willingly sacrificed it to be more in line with ancestors I feel I most connect with, the nurturers, the caregivers, the healers. Um, I'm not saying that male bodied beings don't have the capacity to do that, but in this reality, that is not what they're most known for. And I think really briefly, I just want to be conscious of the fact that we all don't transition for the same reasons. But many of us who go on this journey, it is a spiritual journey. It's not just about aesthetic. It's not about being a doll. It's not about playing dress up. And I think that this is, often true for people who are late bloomers in transition. They feel like they have so much to prove, all kind of decadent things to kind of make up for coming late to the party. But that's another video. But I do think it's very important to have a deeper conversation about why we embark upon this journey. And also, I want to point out that there's always been discord between dolls and eunuchs. There's an ancient feud between the dolls and the eunuchs. And a lot of us have moved away from the term eunuch because we felt eunuch was dehumanizing. But you have to understand that not all eunuchs were forced to be eunuchs. Some eunuchs chose it spiritually. Okay? And so we have to realize that every trans girl is not a doll. Some trans girls are eunuchs who chose this for the journey. Like, we're not all dolls. Some of us are eunuchs. And if you read the Bible, that Jezebel spirit and that eunuch spirit clashed. The caretakers, the healers, the nurturers, um, the the homemakers, the space holders. You know, this journey for me has been about making capacity, whereas for my trans masculine brothers or my trans masculine beings, the journey is about taking up space, which is why when they go through their post-op procedure, they get an extension down there. But for us, we create space down there. And so our journey is to create space, and their journey is to take up space. And it's very understandable because a lot of times when you are born in the female form in a patriarchal society, you're not allowed to take up space. And so I definitely understand where my trans masculine brothers or siblings are coming from, and I just hope that they keep balance on that journey, you know, and carry with them the whole story, and not just the parts that are flattering. Um, and for me, this journey has been about making space. Even though I don't feel like I got a chance to take up a lot of space as a child, unless I was parakeeting or echoing something that aligned with Christianity, I don't feel like I really got a chance to take up a lot of space, but I did get a chance to do some things that the beings in my family that were born with vaginas were not able to do. Like I got a little more grace, and so I know that, and so um, I definitely feel like we are, as trans masculine and trans feminine beings, we are like the waves going in and the waves coming out. Like we are that. The one wave is going into shore and one wave is going one wave is rescinding back into the ocean. And so I feel like a lot of my brothers or my transmasculine brothers are that wave coming into shore, and we're that wave going back into the deep, and we don't need to lose that connection. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but it all ties together, you know. Um, and my effort to be able to look in the mirror and to love deeper, to love more meaningful, um, I feel it's important to do that type of self-reflection, that type of shadow work, and it's a part of the healing process. This journey for me, where I'm at in this journey, is I'm not going to allow anyone to put me down because of how they've been taught to see their sex organs as their brain, to base who they are on their genitals, and then try to devalue me because I was not designed in this incarnation to carry beings inside of me that would come here and bend the knee to this colonial deity, to this false Christ, to this idol that many worship, this divine being that does not acknowledge the feminine side or the divine feminine within itself, like that diminishes beings who are not born with the capacity to be to maneuver as men, to perform in the way that men perform, you know. Yeah. And to have their greatest value be what they can produce from their womb. Like, I'm not going to be devalued by someone because that was not my role in this incarnation. I am not going to partner myself with beings who are not willing to fight for me, who are not willing to protest for me, with me, who are not willing to stand up for me. I'm not going to lie down with someone who will not bow and pray with me to the ancestors, who will not acknowledge the mother and the father, who will not acknowledge wholeness. I am not going to partner myself with that. And that is the greatest thing that I feel like I could model for the next generation in this existence, is to be consistent in my celebration of wholeness of our foremothers and our forefathers and those who did not subscribe to this. And that is my way of showing up as a deeply melanated Black, indigenous, queer person. And I will continue to embody that and show myself that type of love, and hope that one day, if I am to have another partner before I leave here, I will see that same reflection looking back at me in the mirror, because I've been doing this work on myself. Amen. A woman. Laylim layla. Well, that's all I wanted to share in this video. Y'all have a beautiful day and take care of yourself. Laylim layla nation. Purple ones. Rise.